So Pitchfork.
And we're going to do some Pitchfork today, and we're drinking Outwitted.
And what is Outwitted?
I believe it's like a Belgian wheat or a wheat beer. Overall, what are you guys' opinions on Pitchfork? I, for one, really enjoy them. They're my kind of brewery. They do several very experimental. They have like a couple house beers, but the rest of them are just constantly changing. And
Well, I like their connection with Patty Ryan's next door, the Irish restaurant next door, with their exclusive beer. What was it? Was a
whiskey.
Whiskey ale.
It was an
Irish
Irish
whiskey ale.
an Irish red with aged in whiskey barrels.
Regardless, it was good, and I recommend it.
It might be one of my all-time favorite whiskeys, though. Like, I haven't had a whiskey beer that good in a while. It was a solid beer.
They are a small brewery with only a 5-barrel system, but they're not looking to go beyond that. They're perfectly comfortable with the size that they are.
Well, and once you have an enormous system, it's hard to be experimental because the investment for making this huge batch becomes pretty cost prohibitive. So if it goes wrong, it's pretty, tragic.
Also, they probably couldn't maintain that sustainable model that they have right now with the ice and everything.
Well, they local
the
source
ice,
all their
all the
ingredients
ice.
too from the.
Or at least as much as they can.
Yeah, so moving away from that, they've built up, a connection with that maple farm and the different places around town there that they get a lot of their ingredients from. I think it'd be hard to kind of reset the button on that and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I was actually really because like when we go to do the interviews, we kind of go in with a certain set of ideas and like we were going to talk about like what makes them unique, and I was kind of thrown off a little bit because I didn't realize how green they were as a brewery. Like I was like going to the interview and the guy's like, yeah, we pretty much use the same 100 gallons of ice we started with to cool the beer. They just have this big freezer, they throw it in, they cool it, and it's very manual, like labor intensive, but they don't have to constantly bring in new beer to cool or water to cool the beer. They just keep freezing that 100 gallons again, which is really cool. And like I do that in my sink when I homebrew, but I don't save the water because I'm lazy. But that's that's just an impressive they decided to go the way of more labor. Like they're very non-automated. Like there's like no computers. It's all just guy in there, sweat of his brow, stirring things, using ice and
There's brow sweat in here.
just brow sweat.
That's what.
That's the,
Makes it-
the spicy note you get.
I like to call it.
Freaking
It's a-
brow sweat. Brow sweat
Do you
ale.
taste that little bit of salt? That's
Who
brown
am I?
sweat.
No,
who am I?
that's me.
Who is this?
That's me.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But it makes it makes it an honest beer,
I am not a wheat beer person. I don't like wheat beer, but this one I am enjoying. I'm
Yeah.
on my second glass already.
Yeah, I am a wheat
Because
beer
Jake was
person.
going to go up there and get a growler for this, and he's like, should I get the pale or brown? Don't get me wrong, their pale ale and their brown is very good, but I'm like, I really like their Outwitted. It's a solid wit beer. I don't know if they call it a wit or Belgium wheat. But they do a fantastic job on it. It has a nice malt backbone with tons of spice in it, but it's not over. Because sometimes when people, especially in this country outside of Belgium, when they make a more of a weedy, wet or Belgian beer, they go too crazy with the spices, and the secret is to have subtle spices with malt and the hops present, and I think one of the few breweries I've had in this country who've been able to really hit that on the mark. So
It's got a little bit of alcohol to it, which is nice. It kind of balances out that the little bit of fruit and spice.
there's times I enjoy a beer that is like more than also like really hoppy or really malty beer, but generally speaking, people seek the balances, like a well balanced beer, and this is one of the. Like I said a few minutes ago, it's incredibly well balanced. They have perfect amount of spice, hop, malt. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this would go great with food too. And that's another thing is their relationship that we had kind of mentioned earlier with Patty Ryan's and how they have this Irish place that tries to play with the food, and it's an important aspect of beer drinking because it does pair better than wines do. And
Well, and they said
They
Evan
infuse
can-
some of their beer into
yeah,
the
like
sauces as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
And just from a business standpoint, it's also fairly interesting too that they have this symbiotic relationship.
they're not a
Yeah.
brew pub, but yeah, they can function as a brew pub. Right. We just have to come back to it one more time. That whiskey ale they make is
Amazing.
It's
just.
amazing.
I
Well,
could
and they
could
were-
crawl into a barrel and
They
die.
were really
It'd be-
friendly too because we didn't schedule anything with them. We scheduled everything with the brewery and oh hey, we should run over and get an interview of the owner, who just happened to be there that same day. So we talked to him, and then after we were done with our shoot, we went over there for a dinner, and they came out and gave us free Scott or what
Irish
Shot
whiskey.
Irish whiskey
Whiskey.
shots.
Yeah.
And then we had the beer too.
But
so.
yeah, they were very welcoming and
Yeah.
and
I think it's cool that Mike, the head brewer there, and the owner Patty Ryans, they worked together before they both started their own companies, and now they kind of found their way back to each other, and it's cool that they figured out a way to kind of coexist together and make it work for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Mike
it's
is
interesting because they were from completely different
Right. They did
jobs.
painting.
He was a painter,
Yeah.
the brewer, and then Patty Ryan also owned properties, so
Right.
they had him.
yeah. Speaking of which, Mike, what a great guy that guy is.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in there several times since, and every time I'm in
Brewer,
there,
bartender.
he's brewer owner.
That was probably the longest interview you ever
Ah.
did. You just like,
Just
Me
kept
and-
going.
like, are you interviewing or are you just having a conversation with him?
A little bit. Me
Yes.
and Mike
Yes.
connected a little
Yes.
bit. I'm sure if Mike watches this, he'd be like, I don't know that guy. But I connected with him. I like Mike. Him and Leosh are also really good friends. The guy over at Lazy
Oh,
Monk. Yeah, because the second we shot Lazy Monk, the first thing he said was like, "You guys have to do Pitchfork," and I'm like, "We will." He's like, "No, really,
Yeah.
go do Pitchfork." I'm like,
And even
"Okay."
in the interview, Mike mentioned Leosh. And
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's on the tape or not, or the final cut.
It's not.
Did not make it.
Did
Yeah.
not make the cut.
Cutting
But
room floor.
DNM.
Should we wrap this
Should we
up
give
and
our
cheers?
final
Yeah.
our final thoughts?
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe one final thought apiece, and then
We'll mix it up. Usually we start with Jake on these, but let's go with Andy first.
The fact that they have that symbiotic relationship with the restaurant next door is really interesting. And just the fact that they don't really have a desire to get bigger, but that they're very comfortable with where they are is pretty inspiring. So
Stephanie.
I went there 6 months ago and then again recently, so I think that I really enjoy the transformation I've seen on their style and their creativity. I mean, this to me, I started with Hefeweizens. I don't often drink them anymore, or kind of that style, and I would drink this any day of the week.
I'm a huge fan of people who are constantly coming up with new stuff and experimenting. That's will keep me going back endlessly, and I have been there a lot since. They overall are my kind of brewery. They do everything I like. They don't mess around. I enjoy them.
I also liked the food relationship with the restaurant.
I love the fact that Mike and Sarah stayed true to their roots as far as their ag background. Both of them come from an agriculture background, and they infuse that into their tap room and into the way that they even produce their beer. And I think that's pretty admirable. And the fact that they're in a rural setting, they utilize the maple guy down the road, and they get their ingredients from here and there. I think that's a lot of admirable qualities that I would look for in a tap room. Someone who's a little bit smaller, and they want to stay that way, and I respect that.
there is something about a place where, and I drive by Hudson on a pretty regular basis, but when you have that thing where you're approaching the exit and you go, I should stop. I should probably stop, right? That's something that's pretty awesome, because there's a lot of places that I can just go, maybe later.
Okay, guys, to Pitchfork and to beer and beer things.
And episode 4.
Episode 4. We're
Cheers.
still made it.